Actually, my old office, I had 5 years.
At this time, I'll call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We'll note for the record that Councilmember Schaefer is joining us virtually from a public site. So because of that, we will have roll call votes this evening, with the exception of approving the agenda and the adjourning the meeting. All the other votes will be roll call. So I'd like to once again welcome everyone here this evening. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes to that agenda? If not, we'll operate under that agenda. The first item then would be agenda item number 1, consider the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting as well as the work session. Both were held on August 12th. The council does have the minutes of both of those meetings. Are there any corrections?
Move to approve.
Approval?
Motion by Steve, seconded by Craig. Discussion? Well, there's no discussion on approval of minutes, so we will move directly to the vote, and I'll call on City Clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Burns,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Molesky,
Yes.
Lazinski,
Yes.
and Alcorn.
Yes.
And the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 2. This is a public hearing. This is a public hearing for the proposed assessments for the unpaid services. That includes snow removal and weed removal. Following the public hearing, then we'll consider the resolution that would adopt the unpaid assessments to be certified to the auditor treasurer. So I will ask City Clerk Stephen Anderson to conduct this public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you had said, this is a public hearing for proposed assessments for unpaid services for snow, weed, and grass removal, as well as for fire calls that were sent out last year by our finance department for invoices. 3 of the properties, since notices were mailed as required under ordinance and statutes for this hearing, have paid. 2 of the properties, 607 West College Drive and then 116 South 10th Street, are under new owners. So staff would recommend that those 2 properties be removed from the assessment.
Okay. Is there any input from the audience as part of this public hearing or from members of the city council as part of this public hearing?
I make a motion we close the public hearing.
Motion by Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Discussion? If not, Stephen, would you call the roll?
Lazinski,
Yes.
Alcorn,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Molesky,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Mayor Burns.
Yes. So the motion does pass. We'll now consider the resolution, and as the council considers the resolution, we would note the recommendations of the city clerk on who is removed from that role. Questions about the resolution? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, and seconded by Jim. Discussion? Stephen Anderson, you're clear on the motion?
I am.
Very good. Any other discussion? If not, Stephen, would you call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Molesky,
Yes.
Alcorn,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes,
Lazinski,
Yes.
and Meister.
Yes.
and the motion does pass. We'll move then to the consent agenda. We'll bring the items up on the screen that are on the consent agenda this evening. And they include consider the approval for a temporary liquor license for the Chamber of Commerce for an event September 3rd. Consider the temporary extension of alcohol license area for Brow Brothers Brewing Company. Consider the approval for a raffle permit for Tracy Animal Rescue for September 7th, 2024. Consider the request of Southwest Minnesota State University for the homecoming parade, Saturday, October 12th, 2024. the preliminary plat of Stone Meadow, the introduction of the preliminary plat. Consider the approval of the modification to the restricted covenants for Stone Meadow, subject to Walmart Real Estate Business Trust approval. Consider or call for a public hearing regarding the proposed property tax abatement for SR Auto Repair Garage, the introduction of the request of Turkey Valley Farms to rezone 2 lots from R1 one-family district to an R2 1 to 4 family district, and then finally consider the approval of the bills and the project payments. Is there any item on the consent agenda any member of the council wants removed for separate discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
By Steve, seconded by Amanda to approve all of the items on the consent agenda. Discussion on that motion? If not, Stephen, would you call the roll?
Alcorn,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes,
Lizinski,
Yes.
Muleski.
Yes.
and the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 12. Agenda item number 12 will be to consider the request of Paul and Joanne Stoneberg for a conditional use permit for three multifamily apartment buildings in the B3 General Business District. I'll call on Ilya Gutman to present this agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is a request for conditional use for 3 apartment buildings in that lot. It's a general business, B3 general business district, and apartments are conditional use in that district. So that's why this request is in front of you. The resolution includes some additional information because the ordinance has the special criteria for approving conditional use permits and things that this request complies with all those requirements. So recommendation is to approve it. It went through the planning commission. The recommendation was to approve it also.
Questions for Ilya?
The only question I'd have, and I do support this project, but the traffic flow out there, is that area going to be able to handle the extra traffic flow?
That's a commercial business, so it's supposed to handle significant traffic flow.
Other questions? If not, if there are no other questions, you do have the request for the conditional use permit. I would
I
entertain
move approval.
I'd second.
motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, Stephen, would you call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Muleski,
Yes.
Alcorn,
Yes.
and Lizinski.
Yes.
And the motion does pass. Thank you, Ilya. Agenda item number 13, consider the request of Independent Lumber for a conditional use permit for a lumber yard in a B3 General Business District. Ilya.
Thank you. This is a kind of unusual request because usually conditional use permit requests are for future construction. This thing is, even though it is kind of a future construction, but in reality the use is already there. What happened is that this was built before the area was annexed to the city, so it's kind of was grandfathered in, and ordinance allows that thing. But now they want to enhance the use. They want to build several new buildings, and that's why this request is in front of you. If you approve this request, it will make this use permitted with conditional use, and they will be allowed to expand. Just as a two comments here. Menards is considered a lumber yard, and they do have a conditional use permit. And usually with conditional use permits, we have some additional requirements. You can see that, for example, this is a pretty bare area. But again, considering that this is existing use, we look at it a little bit differently. So again, there is a list of all the criteria that ordinance calls for and things that this can be granted, this request can be granted.
So you could categorize this as a housekeeping item to kind of clean up, since
To a
this was
degree, yes.
here before it was part of the city, so. Questions the council has? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Jim, second by Amanda. Discussion? If not, Stephen?
Schroeder,
Yes.
Muleski,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Alcorn,
Yes.
and Meister.
Yes.
And the motion does pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move then to agenda item number 14, the Legion Baseball Field Improvements discussion and consider the authorization to proceed. I'll call on Preston Stensrud from our Parks Department to present this agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Here tonight to hopefully get some progress going on some improvements at Legion Field. You guys may recall we've came several times for this, more so to receive donations. So over the last couple of years, a couple associations, along with city staff and the university, have put together a plan of improvements in a phased approach. At Legion Field, the last significant improvement there is over 35 years ago. We take great pride in that facility, and Legion Field always being noted as one of the top ball fields in the state. But we've kind of fallen behind as other communities have made improvements, and we like to continue to not only host the tournaments we have, but also enhance those tournaments, whether that's making them larger or host more or whatever that might entail. So we worked with a architect to lay out some plans, and then we went. Our intent was to start doing construction this fall with the backstop, a netting system. Most people, if you're familiar with down there, it's all chain link fence right now. There's a post every 8 feet. So obstruction of view isn't, or there's a lot of obstruction of view. Now the new systems, what people are seeing is there'll be 4 poles that would reach from one dugout all the way across and over to the other dugout, spread 50 feet apart, and then one solid net that would go the whole way and wrap the whole thing. So last year we purchased the system, the poles and the net, and we didn't get it till late in the fall. These poles will require to 9 or 10 foot deep footing, 3-4 feet around, all kinds of rebar and stuff that it's a little bit scientific to put together and get it all lined. So we went out to bids for that and the new dugout. We only received one quote. Actually, I said bid, should be quote, from a local contractor. 2 other locals didn't have time to do it, so they just didn't submit any pricing due to time constraints. Since then, I've went back to the local contractor who submitted the quote to break it down into pieces for the backstop installation and the dugout installation. You guys have those numbers there, the 158,589 for the backstop and 95,490 for the installation of the backstop system. The backstop will also have a rock face block wall that'll serve as our security, kind of to keep people off the field when the net is down. With that, we kind of went back, like I said, to the drawing board. The original price of that $281 contractor had included putting shelter and heat around so he could do the block and allow it to cure properly for both projects. I told him we weren't really interested in paying to heat to get it done quicker. We'd rather just work on maybe getting the backstop done, order all the material and stuff, and if we can't get the dugout done, maybe we now have the material and we can start right away next year when the baseball season's over, depending on what kind of winter we have. So with that being said, like I said, those 2 numbers, the 158,589 and the 95,490 come to a total of 254,79. We do have money in the budget, as well as we've received about 190,000, counting that pending $30,000 donation. So about 190,000 in donations towards the project. We would really like to get started and at least make some progress this fall, whether that's the backstop only or if time allows the backstop and the dugout, but would recommend to approve both, knowing that if we don't get one done, we'll be ready to go next year, and the funds are there already, so. The contractor did say he could start right away as soon as, maybe even next week or the next week or two. We'd have to remove the old backstop, which we would do that with our staff. And then we have to get these footings and foundations poured while we wait for the block that we'd have to order to arrive, and that's about 6 weeks. So, I think that's it for now, but happy to answer questions.
Mr. Mayor, Council, can I add something?
Go ahead.
So at the start of this consideration of doing this work, Preston worked hard and put an estimate together that came up well below the 175 competitive bid limit. And so it was quite a surprise when we got we couldn't get, he had no luck getting quotes from two of the contractors, and the one contractor was over that 175 limit. So pursuant to the statute, his initial estimates, his good faith estimates were below that amount, which is why it went out for quote as opposed to it went out for bid.
So if the council so choose, given what you just said, we have the authorization to award if that's the choice of the council.
So the statute says that if the good faith estimate before the project was less than the 175, then, you can't control what the actual price is. There is one auditor opinion that says that really if you get all these quotes that are above that, the situation seems to be a little bit unique in that we couldn't even get any quotes other than one. And so in reading the statute, it seems to fit under the interpretation that the good faith estimate was really below that competitive bid amount. But you do have options in front of you that, Preston laid out. And there are some considerations to think about too with respect to how the public would benefit if the project at different times that it would be done, if there can be some cost savings now or getting some of the work done, I think Preston had mentioned, so.
Okay.
It's kind of a unique situation because we got to align our short window when the baseball season's over, and then hope that aligns with a contractor's window because they're going to take projects as they come, not wait for our baseball project and turn down other stuff. So it's just, and finding block layers is getting increasingly hard to do, at least in our area. So.
Questions for Preston?
No question. Preston and I actually chatted about this earlier today because he asked me, who's a block layer around here? And I can name one. I don't think this is uncommon to get one quote in rural Minnesota to do a project like this at all. We have, unfortunately, Marshall, I think we're down to about 3 commercial contractors too. It's just, we don't have the numbers out here we had 10 years ago. The contractor that he has on for this quote, I believe it's Bladholm, correct? Is been in Marshall for years. He's reputable. He's good to the city of Marshall. I hate to see us advertise this to people in the cities because there's $190,000 of donations from local people. It's kind of tough to say, well, we're going to hire somebody from the cities to spend your local donations at. So I fully support going forward with this out of the budget. You take the $190,000 of donations, it's really going to cost us about $65,000 out of the budget. So I would support going forward with the full project.
Any other input or questions? If
Move
not,
to approve.
I'll second that.
by Steve, seconded by Jim. Discussion? If there's no discussion, Stephen, would you call the roll?
Lozinski,
Yes.
Wolesky,
Yes.
Alcorn,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Meister,
Yep.
Schaefer,
Yes.
and Mayor Burns.
Yes. The motion does pass.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Preston. We'll move then to, we are on agenda item number 15, Commission Board Liaison Reports. Craig?
Mine have not met, Mr. Mayor.
Steve?
EDA met. I was busy at work, so I'll let Amanda take care of it.
Amanda?
I remember at the beginning, in our consent agenda, we discussed this, but possible tax abatement for a auto repair company in town that will come forward soon, which I think is a good opportunity for him and something we could handle. We did talk about Stone Meadow, not Stone Meadows. Yep, Stone Meadows. That came up tonight. The apartment buildings. And then another cool things, Marshall's, is you can actually see it on the front. They're building it out. And then one more thing is Lauren is going to do EDA tours again this fall, which is really cool. It's a really good way to get out and see what's happening. And there's a lot of growth and development. So it should be a good tour.
Very good. Mine have not met. John? See?
No, I don't have anything.
And Jim?
I have nothing.
We'll move then to council member individual items. Craig?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Steve?
Nothing.
Amanda?
Nothing.
Jim?
I have nothing.
See?
Nothing.
And John?
Well, I thought the groundbreaking went well the other night. That was a lot of fun.
It was.
And the rest of Sound of Summer seems like it was very successful.
And building on that, I think, the Sounds of Summer Committee obviously puts a lot of work into that. But there's also a lot of good support from our city departments, our public safety department, our public works department, our street department, our parks department, that all, put in extra effort so that the weekend, not only the venue, but the parade and everything else went well. So thank you to a lot of people. With that, we'll move then to staff reports. Sharon?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Jason?
Quick project rundown. The Whitney Street project should be paved next week. We're expecting on Thursday for paving in the first 2 blocks to occur, and possibly the intersection at Jean and Whitney on Thursday or Friday. We'll see. They will have temporary gravel on that intersection for school to start for access into that parking lot. So we're working through that, but paving coming soon. On the other 2 blocks, the southernmost 2 blocks, water and sewer is in, everybody's connected. They've got about this week's worth of storm sewer work to get finished, and then they should start building on top of the ground there as well. So we're starting to reach the finish line. Seal coating was done yesterday, so that was good. Got that in before the rain. We expect the excess chips and rocks to be picked up on Friday. So hopefully the sweepers come and get those cleaned up on Friday. And Lions Circle, we would expect paving next week as well. If they stay on schedule, it would be the day after Whitney, so Friday. So we'll see if that holds true. And soon we should see bus shelter work going at the 6 different locations, the cooperative UCAP transit city engineering project. We'll be helping them get that constructed. They may start that next week. So that's all I've got.
Any questions for Jason? City Attorney Pam?
Nothing.
We'll move then to the remaining items on the agenda, which include our listing of building permits, the Planning Commission minutes, our listing of upcoming meetings. Is there anything else to come forward at this meeting this evening? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Jim to adjourn. Discussion? If not, by voice vote, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We are adjourned. We will reconvene in work session in 5 minutes.